5:55. It's time to go live. 5:55. It's time to go live. Maybe that should be a thing. Maybe I should just start scheduling. Maybe I should do a 5:55 a.m. for Pacific Asia and 5:55 p.m. for East Coast and European evening. I think that's a fine idea. I'm gonna have to consider that. Welcome to the show. My name is Jeremy Hone, and there are things you'd like to know, but we're not doing a podcast. We're not doing an interview. Well, we are doing an interview. What are we doing? We're doing an AMA, an Ask Me Anything with the team. 3 guests from Flower Girls. I'm very excited to welcome them. I'm going to kick off the event in the VDAO Discord in just a moment. We've got Mantis, Constantine, and Ryan. So I'll let them tell you about themselves. But this is a project that is not only created by a really established sort of like fine artist, but also is sort of pushing the boundaries of what I would consider access to the market. They have a whole division that is seeking out child artists, and I'm actually going to be learning a lot about it. Disclosure, I hold one of these Flower Girl tokens, so I'm not trying to pump my bags. We're hosting them in the AMA because we got to know each other through their launch. CJ and Eric both were sort of, well, I don't want to overstate it, but I think they were instrumental in helping run the Discord, and also just really connected with the artist Vara Vara throughout the process. And so they were nice enough to share our project in their Discord. We have a lot of members who came from Flower Girls or also hold Flower Girls. And the art is beautiful on top of that. So I'm interested to hear from them, you know, what the NFT space means for them as a platform for extending the reach of their art, but furthermore as a utility, as a community building tool, and how they're innovating. So welcome to the show. Thanks for watching the replay. Welcome to all of my friends on Twitch, my singular viewer. I love you with all my heart. And I think we'll kick it off early. Let's kick it off early, shall we? Let's share the screen. We'll go here. Bada bing. Bada boom. Oh, it's not letting me. Oh, starting in 1 minute. How do I? Can I start it? Usually, oh, there it is. Start. Yada! And we already have some folks on stage. How exciting! That's fantastic. All Around Artsy is here and on time. I love it. Thank you so much for being here. I'm gonna bring you up right now. I'm really excited about this conversation. Who knows exactly where it will go, but hey, oh, I didn't have my headphones on. Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How are you?
I'm great. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Yeah.
Amazing. How are you doing?
I'm well. I feel like I'm all over the place. Something about the end of the year makes me all the while like reflective and overwhelmed and like grasping at straws to like catch up with my ambitions for the year. And so I'm accepting that, and also trying to squeeze in some last minute progress, but all the while grateful. I'm good.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Feel you on that.
Yeah. So welcome to the VDAO Discord. I know we had a moment to sort of connect on DM, but just to set the expectation for everybody in the room, like I'm really looking forward to hearing about you, your personal journey as a creator, whatever that art form is for you. And, you know, let's go deep into Flower Girls. I know I see a lot of PFPs in the audience, and I know that there's a lot of people who came from your server into this project. So I'd love to share some maybe new things that haven't been discussed in other interviews with you, and just thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'm so grateful and honored to be here. And I see that some of our other team members are in the audience. So I'm not sure how we can.
Let me get Mantis up here.
So Mantis and also Crypto Chipmunk is Constantine. And I'm looking for Ryan. I think he'll he'll be here shortly
Crypto
if he isn't already.
I don't see. Oh, there you are, Crypto.
Hey everyone, thanks for having us today.
Yeah, thanks for being here, Mantis.
Hey,
Appreciate you.
Mantis.
Hey,
And all around artsy, what should I call you?
You can call me Kira.
Kira. So nice to meet you.
Yes.
I'm Jeremy.
Hi, Jeremy. Nice to meet you as well.
Yeah. So let's get into it. Um, can we start with like the origin story? Like, I want to know where your paths intersected, but even before that, like, how did you find yourself in the art world, or did you find yourself in NFTs from another avenue? And what's a little bit about your background?
Yeah, so I guess I'll start. So let's see. I started my NFT journey about 7 months ago, and it all began when my brother Jeremy
Yeah.
called me up one day, and he passionately told me all about NFTs. And I was very confused and I didn't know what he was talking about, but I was very intrigued. And he was just very passionate about the idea of me trying it out with my art. And so after that phone call, I did some research. I found out that one of my friends who lives in the same area I live, she was getting into NFTs. And eventually I started experimenting, and then it became my obsession. And now NFTs have taken over my life, which I think is the story for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But leading up to that moment, I have been running my production company for 8, 9, 10 years maybe.
Oh, wow.
I do video production. And my company is called All Around Artsy, and that is because I absolutely love all forms of art. And that includes visual art, animation, music, all the things. So that was my journey.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm
and
very familiar with that world. My background is in performance art and puppetry. So I've performing,
I have
building.
such a soft spot for puppetry. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. You were saying?
That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's awesome. Yeah, and in terms of how I connected to this project, I think it was about 6 months ago that I connected with Varvara. So I'm pretty sure that she discovered me because I had written an article about the beginning of my NFT journey. And I basically just documented the entire emotional journey of, getting into the NFT world, and the beautiful moments and also the moments where I was crying and just all of that. And I wrote this article to really help people who are curious about NFTs to just have an understanding of how they can get involved and what first steps they can take and how to connect with the community on Twitter.
Yes.
Anyhow, I guess Varvara found that and then contacted me. And so she reached out and then she shared her art with me. And the moment I saw her art, my mind, my soul, my heart, everything exploded with just this resonance of connection. I absolutely was just obsessed immediately. And I was kind of in awe of the fact that this amazing, incredible, mind-blowing artist reached out to me, because her art is legitimately like this. Her art, she's one of my favorite artists in the community and beyond the community. So it was just one of those magical moments of connecting with someone who I just immediately had so much admiration for, and I was in love with her style. And I just had this feeling immediately, like, this person is going to succeed in this field. She, like, no matter what, like, she's gonna rocket ship. I just, like, she has to. She's amazing. And so that was the beginning of everything with Varvara. So yeah.
Wow, cool. Awesome. Constantine, can we get a backstory about you? What's your comic book episode number 1?
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
I sure can.
Yeah. So it all started, I think, end of February this year. My wife came to me and she kept showing me these NFTs. There was one by Beeple, and I said, no, it's not really interesting. I'm busy with other stuff. And there was a Trevor Jones, and once again I said, no, not really interested. And she kept coming back to me. She was subscribed to someone on Instagram, showing me these weird articles. I've been dealing with crypto for quite some time, and eventually I agreed to check it out. I started collecting on Nifty Gateway. By the way, the two paintings she told me to purchase in February, which I never did, I would have made hundreds of thousands, sort of millions.
Wow.
But yeah, it's the first time I regret not listening to my wife in over 12 years we've been together. And so I started collecting on Nifty Gateway. Then I tried NBA Top Shots. I tried Vive, a few other platforms that have, I think, now disappeared. And eventually, I noticed that there were not enough illustrators in the field, in the space, and so it happened that my father runs a children's publishing house. So there's a constant sort of flow of brilliantly talented illustrators, and once again, my wife came to me and said, how about you help some of these guys get into NFTs? Not enough illustration, not enough collage art. It's all sci-fi. It's all whatever, CryptoKitties, punks, and so on.
Sure.
And the one artist that really stood out from the bunch was Varvara. So I got her contact details. I called her and said, look, there's this amazing new opportunity. It could be nothing. It could disappear within weeks, months, but it could be could become something special. So I said, can I have a look at your portfolio? And she sent me the biggest, most massive amount of sort of cloud storage, which took me days to download. And we're talking thousands and thousands of images that she's sort of generated over like 15 plus years. Animations, illustrations, collages, children's illustrations, and I was absolutely blown away. I've never seen anyone so prolific. And I think it was back in April or May, we started sort of sorting through the archives, trying to figure out what we should do with that. And then she never really had collections as such. She never even had titles. And to this day, it's a fun fact that both Mantis and Kira help her with titles. I do sometimes as well, because she never really thought of her pieces as part of something bigger or something that's uniform. And we did her website. We set up her Instagram and then her Twitter. I think that was end of June, and we minted her first piece on Foundation. She got very lucky. She was noticed by the person who's currently Foundation's top selling artist, and he reached out to her on Instagram and said, would you like an invitation? And she said yes. So
Amazing.
Not only did he invite her, he actually paid for her first couple of mints, which I never expected anyone to do. His name is Manuel. He's known as Allo, ALLO Art. So if you go to allo.art, you'll see his website. But he's on Foundation, and he recently did I think it was a 2K collection on OpenSea. But he's absolutely brilliant. So he finds sort of new talent and helps them, and he mentored her for the first couple of weeks daily, just explaining things about how Foundation works, how the whole system works, and that was that. And then we did. I actually remember her showing me Kira's article, which was really well written, and a great sort of guide and sort of insight into what happens in your first couple of weeks, couple of months in NFTs. And that's that. And then we did Impossible Creatures, which was great fun, lovely collection. And in August, she sent me those 17 images of girls with flowers coming out of their heads,
Yeah.
which she did years ago, and we didn't think much about them. We thought, okay, we'll do it as a nice sort of small collection, maybe similar to Impossible Creatures, or the 8 color versions of each of the 17. But the more we thought about it, the more we realized that, if she were to do a 10K collection, it would have to be the Flower Girls. And then I think Kira supported her in that decision as well. And that was that. So, fast forward to today, we've done 10,000 of these Flower Girls, and they've changed a lot. They've grown up.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. Thank you for all that backstory. I want to, well, first I want to ask Kira if you would mind sending me the article so I can share it with the chat. And for everybody in the audience, above the main stage, you'll see a channel called Voice Channels Text. So as questions come up for anybody on stage, please do post them there. That's where I'll be reading. And I also just want to highlight in the stories we've heard so far how fortune favors the bold, as it were. Like Kira creating this content, you reaching out to artists. Like, I'm excited to hear the other speakers, but as we're all sort of finding our sea legs in the space and also setting roots for what we anticipate will be a long and surprising journey ahead. Like, it takes courage to do what the two of you have done. Just, it's simple. It's vulnerable to go into any kind of collaboration. So that's exciting to me. I just want to highlight for people listening. Mantis, hello, and how are you?
Doing great, thanks. I always love hearing more about the backgrounds of my colleagues here. This is always a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I've been an artist and a musician really as long as I can remember, and have been, like, as an adult, managed to pay the bills with like creative work, like graphic design and audio production, writing, things like that. I got into, I was into crypto, and kind of learned, just sort of gleaned a little bit about NFTs here and there. It became something that I was really interested in, but I've had a busy few years with small kids and so forth, and so it was just here and there, learning a little bit more about different platforms and the technology and so forth. And then in April, I suddenly had a little bit of time on my hands, and actually came to NFT Twitter by accident, because I decided to join Twitter just to keep up with the crypto markets. And then I started noticing, there's all this NFT stuff going on. And so I started to see more and more about that, and got more and more into that, and just decided I would jump in and try it out. And I hadn't been there long when I met Kira. Kira was one of my first NFT friends. And she, I don't know how exactly, but I got to Varvara through Kira.
Okay.
I don't know if she was just posting about her or what it was, but somehow Varvara and I became friends as well. And back in August, she started to also show me the early renditions of the Flower Girls, and eventually decided she would do a 10K project. And I just told her, hey, well, let me know if you need any help with anything. And she came back a short time later and said, yeah, I could use your help. And because, as you know, 5% of the proceeds are going to collecting children's art.
Right. And
she wanted me to head up that project, that part of the project. I do a little bit of collecting, and have had, you might have heard of Nadia NFT. She's an 11-year-old artist with autism, and I've partnered with her and her father some on some projects. And so I guess I had a little bit of a reputation for being interested in children's art. And so she asked me if I would take up that part of it. And so I've had a blast on that. And it's just been so much fun just watching this project unfold. I think it's been, a wilder ride than any of us anticipated. And, like any small team, you find yourself, even if your job is this specific thing, you find yourself working on a number of different things on the project wherever people need you to do something at that point. And so yeah, that's really where I came from and where I fit in.
Absolutely. I want to kind of bookmark that to return to like the sort of idea of like when you're on a team and you see somebody needs help, you jump in, whether or not that's your responsibility. Because I saw a lot of that during the launch. And I think that was one of the things that got me excited about just the team working together. Like I saw that in real time and I was like, oh, I can trust these people to solve problems. But let's go to Ryan. Good evening. Is it good morning or good evening where you are?
Good evening. I'm in New Orleans.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So I actually wasn't here for the question, but I assume it was something about what our background is specifically with Varvara.
Yeah, I'd love to hear how you got introduced to Varvara, but more on a personal level, like what was your journey to NFTs? Did you find it through artwork, community, crypto? Just like a little bit of your journey to here leading up to Flower Girls.
Sure. So my journey is a little bit interesting because I for a long time have developed like a Chrome extension for a video game that taps into like the market there and helps automate that process a little bit. So one of the users that has been using it for several years alerted me to NBA Top Shot and asked if I could do something similar for that. I said, well, I guess, I can check it out. So I got kind of hooked on that, like a lot of people did. Just kind of, I hit it really just at the right time. I bought a couple of packs and was immediately like able to sell the cards therein for like $1,000 or something ridiculous. So, I kind of was able to play with house money, and it became something my brother and I really got into together, which is pretty special because we don't have a tremendous amount in common really. So, something that we, still like text back and forth about, which is kind of cool. But anyway, I got really interested just in the blockchain technology when I was developing for that. And that kind of led me to the Ethereum blockchain. So I started getting involved in that. And so I guess it was like early August, something like that, when we were looking forward to the London fork happening. And I was just seeing a lot of just a tremendous amount of financial success a lot of people were having. And my background is in a lot of directions, but one of those directions is working with people who are homeless and don't have enough to eat or to a place to stay. So I thought, like, how can we get some of this newfound magical internet money to people who really need it? So I looked at my 17-year-old daughter, and said, like, could you draw a fork? And she said, yeah. So we kind of launched this charity project, NFT project, non-fungible forks, Fork Hunger. And through that, I knew that I wasn't connected enough. I didn't have the social capital to like really have anybody have any idea what was going on. So I started reaching out to a bunch of artists on Twitter, people who I just thought were really talented. And Varvara was the first person that said yes. She said, like, anything you need, like, let me know. Like, she offered us one of her one-of-one pieces to give away to somebody who minted, and she also did a one-of-one fork for the collection. But more than that, that generosity was huge, but it was the way that she treated my daughter like a real artist, and was just so kind and so generous in spirit, not just like with her art, but with herself. And that was just something that was, she became somebody who I knew if she ever asked me for anything, I would say yes. So like as she started moving forward with the Flower Girls, I was, a big cheerleader, and she would, would direct message me, questions about smart contract stuff. And when I discovered something, I would, tell her, like, make sure that this happens. And we kind of have been keeping in touch that way. So so I have just been trying to help out as much as I can. I'm super excited to get involved with the the developer side of things when it comes to the process of cross-pollination and what that how we can gamify that whole process and make it really interesting and do some stuff that nobody's done yet, which I think will be really, really, really cool. I got really excited after talking to Nick. He developed the generative software that kind of put all the Flower Girls together, but the stuff that he created for Mosh Pit, that's the name of the software that he wrote, was just, it's heads and shoulders above anything else that I've seen in this game. I mean, it's really, really phenomenal stuff. So that really got my wheels spinning about all the cool stuff that we could do. So
it's
going to be really interesting.
And I think that's a great segue. I'd love to dive deeper into it. We've got some questions coming, but I know that as a project, this is far more than simply an artist putting out a concept, that you're really reaching out into a lot of different sectors within the space. Can you speak to the cross-pollination, where it's at right now? Like, how much of it is, what you're doing, how much is in development? And I think people probably want to hear some of the technical nitty gritties, as that's ultimately the skill set that pushes the space forward, right? And people with minds like yours collaborating with the rest of the crew who are creative and imagining. So I mean, they're both imaginative activities, but it's one of my favorite things about this space. It kind of creates
the perfect storm when you have creative people and people with big ideas. And something that Nick and I have in common is that we don't when somebody comes up with an idea, we don't immediately dismiss it as something that's not possible. We so let's explore that. So I can talk a little bit about cross-pollination now that Varvara has given the go-ahead on kind of a bigger plan. I don't want to reveal too much, because I think that part of the whole experience is going to be the fun of discovering how it all works. But that being said, it's going to be a much more interesting story than just kind of like the typical like NFT breeding experience where you just kind of smash two NFTs together and out pops another one. It's going to be several, I think we have 8 or 9 different kind of steps, but it's more of a cycle if you just kind of think about plants and flowers and things like that. The beginning of everything is that all 10,000 Flower Girls are going to be kind of represented on a sphere in 3 dimensions, where they all kind of are in relation to one another. Obviously, the ones you hold in your wallet will be closer in proximity to one another than ones that don't. And then we'll have other factors that cause different flowers to clump together and things like that. And then we have all these companion creatures that are on the artwork that in the metadata, they just say insect or bird or fairy. But really there's a whole lot of different species of things. So Nick's actually, his wife is a PhD level mathematician and scientist. She's super into geneticists and all that kind of fun stuff. So they've just been reading tons of scientific papers about bee pollination patterns and where butterflies go and how that all works. So as much as we can, as much as makes sense within the context of this little experiment, we're going to try to make things as scientifically kind of analogous to how they operate in the real world as possible, but with the realization that one, it's an entire globe full of things that has no continents or anything like that, and the other, it's fun, it's imaginative. So anyway, that all to say, that first process of cross-pollination will be largely in secret. Like, you won't necessarily know which flowers of those 10,000 that bees have, landed on prior to landing on your flower. And that's going to kind of happen. We're working out kind of some of the details, like whether there's a period of rooting that needs to take place before your flower girl is ready to be pollinated, which can, on it as part of the story, it makes sense and it's fun, but also on a collector, and collection protection side, it encourages holding for longer periods of time. So when your flower is prepared for that, when a bee or a butterfly or a moth or whatever, even some of the birds, hummingbirds and things like that, all pollinate. when they come by, they may bring genetic material from one of the other flower girls to yours. And this is kind of the part that I'll go so far as to say, like, at that point, your flower girl will produce seeds. And some of those seeds she will maintain on her own. She'll know that she has them and will just be able to hold them herself. Others will get blown away by the wind. Still others will be picked up by some of these flying creatures and carried off wherever they happen to go. Probably they're going to land places where they live more often than other places.
Wow. I love this. I can see the ecosystem emerging. And personally, as an artist, like, one of my favorite intersections is inspiration from nature, that art imitates life and then life imitates art concept. So this is very exciting because you're taking it to a whole another level.
It's pretty wild. So but what that also will end up giving us, I think, I'm trying not to to throw too much out there, because
you can throw a little bit out there.
But these, just like in nature, not every seed produces, a seedling and a full plant, right? You end up planting a lot more seeds than actually produce. So since these flower girls know that, seeds before they're planted can operate as a sort of a currency, where they they know some things about them, but they don't know other things about them. They know which flower they came from, perhaps, but not what other flower was involved in their genetic mutations. So up to that point, they're all kind of more or less the same, so they can use them to trade for maybe merch, or maybe just back and forth. Maybe you want to diversify which types of seeds you have, whatever happens to be. So then beyond that, we don't know whether the flower girls themselves are going to be going to Venus, or whether maybe they're going to be sending seeds there to be planted, or whatever.
Right, but you're involving the community in the creative process and sort of gamifying in that way. That's amazing. I want to jump to Constantine, and because I wonder, as a project manager, when you hear a big idea like this, what are you thinking, and how do you lean on the team to ultimately tell the story that's being built through this innovation?
Well, initially it scares the living stuff out of me.
I figured.
But initially I tried to project manage Nick, realized that he doesn't need any management, and I think he found his match in Ryan. I they've had some amazing conversations, and Nick came back to me the other day saying that he's been reading 20 to 30 scientific articles on pollination, which and he's a software developer. He's not a botanist, he's not a scientist, and he's got 2 kids. So it's I think it's at this point it's above my pay grade. So I'm just I'm observing it, like the rest of you and the rest of the team. Fascinated to see where they take it. But I know that if any sort of tandem can take it to a very exciting place, it'll be Ryan and Nick. One thing I should mention about our roadmap is that when we started this, the only thing that Barbara had on the roadmap, well, the only 2 things were, 20% goes to children's charities, 5% goes towards collecting children's NFT art. Full stop. We did not have any of the current roadmap. So we actually involved our original community on Discord back in October, and they sort of brainstormed the roadmap together. And in particular, there was a group of Discord members called the Botanists. They were the top tier. Normally, they were appointed by team members and Barbara herself, or they reached a certain milestone, like they were very engaging. They helping others and so on and so forth. And Ryan was of course one of the botanists. So a lot of the things that you see now, like the most recent giveaway where people get a personalized video message to a loved one, let's say for Christmas or New Year's Eve, together with either a custom flower girl or a print, that came from one of the botanists who said, look, no one's doing it, it's a great idea, let's try this. So the roadmap is very much a brainchild of the entire or the early community of about 600 people.
That's lovely.
And yes, and I've collected from 10K collections, but I've never been involved in one in the same capacity. So it was new to most of us, really. And the fact that that there was a loyal and engaging community that really helped us build the project towards where it is now is brilliant. And Ryan is perhaps the finest example of someone who really stepped up and added something amazing to the project. But there are others in the group of the 17 botanists who are now running focus groups, trying to figure out how to present certain parts of the roadmap. Or there's a focus group on IP rights, how people can use their flower girls. So all the votes that happen on our Discords before they go to the public votes are between the team members and the botanists. And that created an amazing sense of engagement and loyalty, and that's something that really stood out for me about this project.
Phenomenal. Kira, I'd like to ask you a question kind of in a similar sense, and I'm not sure if you want to tie it into what you're doing with the Flower Girls Fund, but especially as a filmmaker and an all-around artist as you are, I wonder if you could speak to the challenges of volume in a community. I'm looking at the collection, and you have 3,500 holders, and a Discord of 10,000 or more. And like Constantine was talking about with botanists, new collaborators coming in throughout the process. What is your role in I guess keeping people aligned, and how is it going for you, I guess?
Yeah, so the adventure of Flower Girls has been quite magical, and it's been a very unique experience to go from just starting out as a small core team, literally a few people starting off the Discord, and then growing to a few hundred. I remember when we were just announcing the whitelist, and we grew to like 600 or more members in just a few hours. And I was like, whoa, this is, a lot is happening. And then after selling out, now we have, I don't know what we're at, 6,000 or 7,000 members, whatever it is, that type of growth, it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely one of those, I don't want to say hurdles, but one of those things where it happens and you have to grow with it and figure it out. And I know that VDAO, you guys have been just amazing, and we received a lot of help from you guys in terms of figuring out how are we going to mod this and make sure everyone is happy and being attended to. So first off, shout out to all of you guys in your community. You guys are just so amazing, and we're so grateful for all of you. And then also back to the botanists, we had our core team of community members who really stepped up and were there 24/7, helping to manage all of the questions and sift through all of the issues or anything that was popping up. So it was definitely a community effort to manage thousands of new people coming in with questions, concerns, excitement, passion. So yeah, it was very much so our core community that helped manage everything and make it flow as smooth as we could. Yeah.
That's great. I would love if you could speak to the Flower Girls Art Fund a bit and how that relates to Flower Girls.
Question off to Mantis, since he's in charge of the art fund.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So as you've heard by now, so 5% of all the profits go to collecting children's art, in addition to 20% going to charity. And so that's a really important part of the project, and something that, if you know Varvara, she's a very charitable person and has a big, big soft spot for children. And, I think it's wonderful that she wanted to devote so much of this project to helping children. And so, yeah, so that brings us to the Flower Girls Art Fund. And we've got an application process. If you go to our Discord, there's a channel called Children's NFT Art, and pinned to that is our application. I'm not sure there might be a better place to put that, but we've got an application for children artists. We're trying to go with artists aged 5 to 12 for the most part. We might make some exceptions, but that's kind of the age range we're most interested in supporting. And so artists and or their parents will apply for this fund, and then I will go investigate and try as best as I can to verify that this is a real person, and go and pick the art that I think will go the best, will fit the best with the rest of our collection. So, and you can follow our collection at OpenSea.io/Flower Girls Art Fund, see what we've collected so far. But it's been really, I've really enjoyed this. It's, I love looking at art, and I love collecting, and it's been a real joy and this is something I didn't really anticipate for whatever reason, but just it makes these kids and their parents so happy to get that that validation that comes from someone collecting their art. So it's one of those things that you can imagine, just the cascading effects this is going to have on these artists with their lives. They're going to grow up knowing that there is real world value to being an artist.
Yes.
And they can follow that passion into their adulthood. I just think that's really wonderful.
Absolutely. It's incredibly reaffirming, no matter what age you are, when someone we'd like to imagine everyone has the self-esteem and self-confidence in what they're doing to just know their own worth. I think we talk about that a lot in the art world. But it does mean a lot when it comes from someone else.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think most of us who are artists, grew up having, even if, in my case, my parents were very supportive of me as an artist, but there was always that, you're going to have to find something else, to put food on the table. This isn't going to do it. Yeah. And and maybe they were right, with the where we were in technology and in the art world, but now with NFTs, especially,
yes,
it's more possible than ever for artists to make a full-time living off of what they love, and for kids to be learning that lesson, but also learning the technology at such an early age. I think it's going to position them so well as they grow up and become adults.
That's amazing. I'm going to bring up some people in the audience who have their hands raised. If you have a question, just raise your hand. I'll also go through the voice channel text questions. And please do stick around. We're going to open up the POAP channel soon. And then we have some other surprises for you all. So Howard, why don't you go ahead and take the mic?
Hey team, oh man, it's so exciting to hear the intelligence coming through on this project. I can't wait to show this collection to my family. I'm having trouble getting my girls and my wife to believe me about NFTs. And I think that, I mean, it sounds kind of gender based, but I just think that they would love this. And I have a question for Ryan. Is there a possibility, like with the cross-pollination in the future, that you would actually take the traits and turn them on their head? You know, like a traditional PFP has kind of a real linear trait rarity ranking and that type of thing. I was wondering about, is there a possibility that like you could take people and encourage them to hold common traits because maybe they would attract rare cross-pollination? Is there any of that of maybe an idea, something there?
Yeah, I mean, that's already started happening really since our AMA on whatever day that was, Sunday. When, you know, it's a lot harder now to find a flower girl with 2 companions, for instance, even though they're not necessarily the rarest. But folks are trying to, you know, some people in particular in the community are really trying to position themselves well for cross-pollination. So it won't, you know, I don't think that there's ever any intention of changing the metadata in a way that will affect that rarity score, because people made decisions in what they purchased because of that, and that would be a little bit, you know, I don't think that we would gain a lot of trust by,
right,
you know, somebody bought the number 2 rarity and then now all of a sudden it's the number, you know, 2000 rarity because something changed. But that being said, there's you know, we've said over and over that every trait it, you know, is going to be important in some part of this process. But also what I've noticed about this project more than any other I've ever seen is that people aren't shopping the floor for the most part. They're finding the one that they really, really like. And maybe it happens to be close to the cheapest one on the market, but maybe not. And I think that a lot of people aren't recognizing that when they're pricing the ones that they want to sell, that that often the one that sells, it sells because somebody loved it, not because it was the, you know, the price that it was. So I think that a lot of people are missing out on, you know, even those that are trying to make their profits, which is okay. That's part of this whole experience, right? Is that, you know, the volume that comes from people moving in and out of these projects, or, you know, reducing the number of tokens that they own from a project, is part of what sustains the whole thing. So, you know, you don't want to like go too hard on folks that are flipping, but at the same time, there's going to be some real benefits to holding this project, I think, and not the least of which is that in my eyes, it is the most beautiful, most just like museum quality art in a generative project I have ever seen, and really didn't even imagine ever seeing. I mean, the degree of care that Vivara put into each tiny layer, of which there are thousands, you know, most of which aren't even reflected in the metadata, right? There's so many noses and so many, you know, eyebrows and all of these things that are just, you know, just really, really intricate, that, you know, I think that we could have made 10,000, you know, projects and still not run out of traits.
Yeah, I'm really impressed. Like just by listening to how deep of a dive you guys are going on the science, I think it just, it you know, screams to new people like me hearing for the first time that this is a long-term thing and the possibilities are endless. This is not your average you know, PFP collection, and I just love it. So
absolutely. I mean, this sky's the limit, you know, and I also want to comment a little bit on what you said at first, Howard, which was that, you know, this is the one that you feel like you can show your mom or your, you know, significant other or whatever. And that's been my experience as well. It's not difficult to show someone a flower girl and have them say, yeah, that's worth something, in the same way that some of my other, like there are communities that I'm a part of that I love. And I really am. And I think probably this crowd is totally on board with being able to say this. Like, but the art is not really the thing that makes it worth something, right? It's really the stuff around it, the community and the utility and whatever. But to me, like right now you can get a flower girl for I think under $300, and you can print that on anything as large as you want. Like there's no trouble selling. So if I had a 32 by 32 inch flower girl for sale for $300, nobody would think that was not a good idea. Like, so I think that's really something special. But yeah, the long term, it's one of those things where we have a story now, we have an arc that it will be wild and complex and probably scary for people like Constantine. But at the same time, like it could end there if it needs to, if that's where the community is at, or it can spin up into a whole nother cycle if that's where the community's at, and not just our particular one, but like the greater NFT community at large. So we have I don't know, it's going to be cool. I think at the end of it, like we will have all like participated in this really amazing like ongoing art installation that combined technology and creativity and all this stuff. It's gonna be really neat.
Well said.
Can I ask two questions? So number one is the IP for the art goes with the owner, or does that stay with Flower Girl? So because you mentioned someone printing a piece of art and then being able to sell it, is that something that people can do?
No, not right now. I guess I should have. That was a poorly worded thing, but
that's what I just wanted to confirm.
Like, yeah, I could print it and have paid $300 for the thing that I got printed. Is more what I meant. It could be the case in the future. I don't think ever that prints or something that. I mean, I don't really know how that works with other communities, but that feels a little bit off to just sell a bunch of prints of something. But maybe not. I don't know. But right now it's personal use. You can do whatever you want to use it for yourself, and then there's a working group with the botanist and with Vivara and with Constantine to decide what sort of commercial availability your license gives you. That should be, I don't know, in the coming weeks. I would say we'll have some clarity on that.
The next question is the pollination almost like a staking sort of contract?
So it's not staking. One of the reasons, like I personally didn't want to go like the like direct staking route is because it's super expensive and gassy to stake your flower on to stake your NFT on another contract. The other is it kind of like goes against the spirit of flowers and of plants and the story. It's kind of like they're not kind of, I guess, meant to be like locked in. So, but it will serve as kind of a pseudo staking experience when we're talking about like rewarding longer term holds and things like that. I was kind of brainstorming earlier about like what might, like when you sell your flower girl, perhaps all the seeds just kind of like go off into nowhere. They kind of go away they don't necessarily travel with, or maybe some of them do and some of them don't. I'm not sure how that's going to play. And what type of token the seeds will be, because we want each seed to have unique genetic information in it. So that means we can't like go with just a regular like ERC20 that a lot of projects use for their tokenization. So there's going to be some it's there's some decisions to be made still, but what's that?
So this is in-house.
In-house? How do you mean?
Your development of your contract for pollination is not staking. It's more an in-house hybrid of what you're creating from scratch.
Yeah. So cross-pollination, it will be kind of a process that's happening, and that will produce seeds over time, and then those seeds, could potentially turn into new flower people at some point as well. We're kind of sorting out, but it won't just be like an immediate like I said, like it won't be like a smash these two things together, something else pops out. One of the reasons for that is that we've seen like kind of over and over in other collections where the original collection gets kind of devalued when the supply for the whole thing goes up too quickly. Um,
Hmm.
and also it's just like it's more fun to have a story play out over time, I think. So, and that's I don't know, I'm not representative of a whole lot of people in NFTs. I know that for sure. Like, I have had enough money to where this has been something enjoyable to me. I'm not like depending on it for income, so it kind of gives me a different perspective for sure. But I think that there's a lot of people like that that are that see it as an entertainment experience, which is something that's, you don't have to necessarily even make money at the end of it if you feel like you got something out of it, that feels worth it for what you spent. So that said, all the seeds and stuff will be tradable on the market. So like it is an opportunity to both increase volume on royalties for the project and, for holders.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it all play out. It sounds. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, CJ.
I just want to ask one last follow-up. Is those seeds are going to come out as NFTs or as tokens?
It sounds like NFTs because they need to have unique metadata that contains their DNA code, or maybe something in between.
Constantly growing, so it sounds like a hybrid of a token slash. Ryan, you can answer.
Yeah, so yes, I think is the answer to the question. I mean, the T in NFT is token, right? So, but it's right now I'm leaning more towards like a ERC 1155, which is like a fungibility agnostic token. That's what a lot of like art that is sold in editions is that type of token. That's the OpenSea Lazy Mint token is ERC 1155 because you can always add to it. So, and it's a little bit cheaper gas wise as well. But yeah, so the tricky thing is going to be, and this is what Vivara and I were talking about the other day, in terms of if it's an NFT that's sellable on the market, it needs to have some, art attached to it. It could be the same thing for each one, but that really doesn't seem like something, that would be in the spirit of just kind of how she is. So, but we don't want her to be like, feeling the necessity to illustrate 4,000 seeds a month or something, like absurd like that. So that it'll be something generative. One of the other members of the community introduced us to something like flower diagrams, which is kind of a mathematical representation of flowers that may play into it. Like we may have some way of representing different parts of the like genetics of the seed in a visual, but then some of it stays hidden still. I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities that I think we're probably I don't know. We haven't set down a hard timeline, but I think we're at least a month away from seeds showing up in people's wallets. So, but the cross-pollination will probably start happening pretty soon.
Wow. Disclaimer for everybody: subject to change.
Yep.
when you're on the cutting edge, which this really is, like there's no other word for it. Thing you have to adapt and things will change, as you already have, as Constantine was saying with the roadmap. I have a couple questions in the chat I want to just throw out there for anybody to answer. So can we expect there to be flower boys one day? Anybody have an answer for that?
So it has been a very popular idea. I think people got very excited about it when we teased it for a potential St. Valentine's Day drop. So it is a possibility. Personally, nice. And I've said this before, I was perfectly happy for the flower girls to go off to Venus and have children in the same-sex couples. We do live in an age where that is perfectly not only possible, but normal, especially on Venus. But why not? If I know that Bavara has started, looking at the flower boys concept. She hasn't really done. She's always done flower girls, as long as she's created things. She has a few male characters in her works, but just a few, and I think all of them have the same face. But I'm sure she's not a realist, so she needs sources of inspiration. She can't just come up with a new face. And a lot of the flower girls, the original flower girls, were made up of facial features of her friends and their children with their permission. We scratched that because we realized we do not want to have children's facial features in the final 10K collection for various reasons.
Yeah.
But it's still, there are quite a few, pairs of eyes, noses, lips that belong to real people in Varvara's life. Also, we borrowed some like that. Some flower girls have lips from Rihanna, and the Venus hairstyle is from Botticelli's Venus painting. So, but so for the flower boys, if she finds, I guess we're looking at sort of classical portraits of young men. If she finds enough inspiration for a large enough drop, we may do that. But it has been a popular idea. Also, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to Freefly for collecting a flower girl just 30 minutes ago as a result of this AMA. So thank you, Freefly.
Yeah, that's a super helpful and interesting insight. Not just the way that Varvara works and how some of the faces were created, but I like the notion that she can't just go and do something. That these concepts, they don't just come out of thin air, that they require inspiration. I think that's something that maybe gets taken for granted about an artist.
Yeah, yes. I mean, there are artists who are portrait artists, and they can sit, anywhere, 24/7, and just create these amazing faces, amazing portraits. Varvara's mind works slightly different. She's not. She is a classically sort of trained artist, so she can paint, she can do all sorts of things. But her specialty is sort of collage art and illustration. So for her, and actually the 10K format was perfect for her because it's a mix of different traits, different features, different elements, which is what a collage is. And it's like, for instance, I'll give you one example. When she did the darker skin tones, she actually, she struggled because she's never done those skin tones before, but she had help from a friend in NFT Twitter who sort of guided her to the right inspiration, including Rihanna for the lips. But yes, it's with the ruffles, for instance, we looked at classical paintings of British queens and found some very unusual colors because we didn't want all the ruffles to be just white, plain white, which most of them were. But if you were really fancy and wealthy in those days, you would have them in sort of a special color, silk or satin.
Sure.
So yeah, if you go into a National Portrait Gallery in London, for instance, you would see a lot of the elements that you would recognize from the flower girls.
I love it. Kind of on a similar note, someone asked if we can expect any more editions of her collection, The Impossible Creatures.
Yes. So what we sold, I think, 240 Impossible Creatures. There were 3 drops. The first one sold in 2 hours. The second one sold in 11 minutes. The third one was, quite complicated because OpenSea, didn't really work that evening. But they all sold out. And then we had this idea of doing the custom Impossible Creatures, so people would request them. And that slowed down because of the gas. At some point, the gas was higher than the Impossible Creature itself. And also we started doing the 3D and augmented reality Impossible Creatures. And that came to a halt because at the time she was not having any sales at all for weeks and weeks. and we also struggled to so the 3D files, when you upload them to Foundation and OpenSea, they set a limit on the file size.
Right.
And we really struggled to sort of convey the same level of detail and complexity and be within that file size limit. We've solved that since, and we have a few 3D Impossible Creatures ready to go. So we will resume January. So we haven't forgotten about the Impossible Creatures, and they've sort of been given a new life by Gary V and AJV,
Right.
who collected quite a few. So to be continued.
That's fantastic. I'm sure people are excited to hear that. As we come to the end of our time, I just want to thank everybody who's here on stage and in the audience. Right above the main stage, you'll see a new channel called POAP Flower Girls. I also commented it in the live chat. I'll do it again. POAP Flower Girls. It'll be open for the next 5 minutes or so, just long enough to give the people who are here a chance to leave their wallet address. It won't send a POAP directly to your wallet. You'll have to come back to the server in a couple of days to claim it once we get the POAP approved. But this allows us to pre-authorize any wallets in the channel for minting that POAP. So we appreciate you being here. It's a little token of gratitude. And we love POAPs. So it's fun for us to do. So please go ahead and do that now. I will close it in just 3 or 4 minutes. And for everybody on stage, this was so incredibly valuable. Speaking for myself, but I can only imagine for the audience. So thank you all for taking the time. If there's any last minute, I don't know how much longer our guests can stay, but if you have any last minute questions, please do put them in the voice channel text. I want
to bring up 2 things. So 2 questions. Number one is, Ryan, your fork project, is that still going on? That's still minting?
Yeah, we've still got about half of them that haven't minted yet. So
do me a favor, if you could DM myself or Jeremy, the link, we'll post it in the chat. And I think Kira's also doing her own project as well. That's right, Kira?
Yeah, well, I have at the moment my emotion check-in project. That's my current big collection. It's currently sold out and only on secondary, but soon I will be announcing details for the next batch. And I also can't say much about this yet, but I may be working on my own 10K project. More info and ... If I could send the vibe of a sparkle emoji, that's what I would do. So sparkle emojis, winky face. Yes. So more info soon.
You have your own private Discord, right? So you'll send me the info, and I guess I'll post that also in the chat so people can jump in there and stay tuned. Same thing with you, Ryan, also.
Everybody post some sparkles in the voice chat for Kira.
Yes, please. All the sparkles for everybody here.
And please, for the 4 of you, please do also drop your wallet address if you'd like the POAP.
Already done.
Fantastic.
Yeah, done. Thank you.
Done.
But while I have everybody here, I do want to remind you that our 20 days of gifts is coming to a close. So while you're here, I think there's an active giveaway right now. Let me just check. There is. You can go scroll up to the events section of the server, hit the emoji, and you'll be eligible to win either a book, a Minneapolis Skyline NFT, or today we're doing 2 NFTs from that collection. And on December 25th, we're actually giving away a ticket to VCon, which we're very excited about. It is not going to be as simple as hit an emoji. We're going to be announcing the details soon. I'll just kind of like tease it, but it will require some effort, and you do have to be a holder of a VDAO token. So keep an eye out about that on Christmas Eve. And we're thinking, this is tentative, so don't hold me to this, but we're thinking it'll happen Christmas morning around 11 a.m. And then you'll have the day to figure it out. The first one who completes the process goes home with a ticket to VCon. Suspense. Awesome. So good. Last chance to put in your POAPs. Last chance to ask any questions to our guests. Thank you again to the 4 of you. I feel like I learned a lot during this time. And I also want to just buy as many Flower Girls as I can now, because I only have this one. That's my profile. How am I going to cross-pollinate if I only have one?
Well, I mean, I do want to be clear. Like, you can, I mean, your Flower Girl will be cross-pollinated because they're part of the whole Flower Girl experience, but you will not be able to be in any sort of control over what sort of traits your seeds might end up with by surrounding your Flower Girls with your ones that you like.
I see. That makes sense.
But, the more you have, the more better results you'll have, I'm sure.
Like, I mean, I've now have 20. I just can't stop buying Flower Girls. I don't know why. It's a problem. But, well, I do know why, because they're amazing. And I'm giving them to almost everybody that I care about for Christmas. So, get some more Flower Girls.
It's a good problem to have. For everybody who's DMing me their wallet address, please stop. I love you, but please check the assignment. There's a channel. It's called POAP Flower Girls. You can drop your own address there. I really appreciate it. I said DM specifically to, let me check who it was, to Dominic, who posted something wrong. Dominic can DM me their address. Everyone else, please post it for yourself. And yes, I still love you. All good. Cool. What else? This has been so fun. Very grateful.
And thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us. And, a massive thank you to everyone from VDAO who helped us out. I see the Dizzle here and Natty Wife and Eric and Cohen, obviously, and quite a few people I recognize from the Flower Girls Discord who've really been, amazing and so helpful and, instrumental in everything we've been able to achieve. So thank you all so much.
Wonderful.
Hear, hear.
Hear, hear.
Yes, thank you guys so much. This has been awesome.
I don't want to end the show. I'm enjoyed it so much, but all good things must come to an end. CJ, when's our next AMA? Do you know offhand? Apparently not. It's okay. Check out for the announcements. I'm going to end the stage right now. Thank you all for being here. If you want to chat, I haven't said this before, but if you want to chat about the conversation, we have an open audio lounge. You're welcome to go there and talk to each other and share the takeaways and whatnot. That could be kind of fun. CJ, did you want to say?
Interrupting you, Jeremy, is tomorrow, I think either 5 or 6 o'clock. It's going to be Nabenzu from the Drops.
Wonderful.
Well, we'll post on Twitter and on Instagram and inside the chat.
Awesome. Well, to Ryan, Mantis, Constantine, and Kira, thank you so much again for your time, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, thank you guys. You guys are awesome.
I just want to also say that it's really great hearing from all of you as well, because I know we've worked, on some stuff in the Discord, and I was listening along here for a bunch of this, and I had to jump off because I'm visiting family. But you guys are all awesome, and I love the Flower Girls project. Super happy that I got to help you guys out with it. Incredible.
Thank you for everything.
Incredible team. Incredible everything. Really, that Discord's a lot of fun.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for everything. We'll be happy to come back anytime, I'm sure.
Awesome. Hey, Natty, did you want to send us off?
Yes, I do. For anyone who's still thinking about getting a Flower Girl, I do want to say that there's an exciting Christmas airdrop that's going to happen. Ryan knows more about it than I do, but I believe the wallets, the art is amazing. And the wallet snapshot is what, December 24th, Ryan?
December 24th. Whenever I wake up on December 24th and take a snapshot and deploy the airdrop.
Amazing. There's some alpha.
Yep.
2 for the price of
Yep.
1. Very cool.
Yeah, or more. There's 6 of them, depending on how many flower girls you have. I think the first break is at 2, and then the next one's at 5, and the next one's at, I can't remember after that. But you can, and then if you've held one, at least one for more than 12 days or more, on Christmas, you will get an extra bonus. So you get up to 6.
Cool. Hooray! Okay, adios, everybody. Thank you for being here, and thank you, Natalie, for adding that context for us. Really appreciate everyone. We'll see you at the next one. Have a great night.
Bye. Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Hugs.
Great job, Jeremy, as always.
Good night. I guess it was just us. And then there was 2. I just jumped in here because I saw you were in here, but you don't need to stick around by all means, but I'd actually be curious to hear from more people.
What is this audio lounge?
The audio lounge is just an open voice channel if people want to speak. And it just dawned on me at the end, like, if people want to continue the conversation, they can jump in here. But it seems like they have not, which is great.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
But
well, thank you so much for having us. It's you guys have a lovely community, and we said no to so many other communities that wanted to infiltrate the Flower Girls. So many different ape pugs, whatever clones. And then you guys came along, and it's been amazing. You fit right in terms of ethos, in terms of culture, in terms of atmosphere. So I think that's been amazing. I'm not very active on Discord. I don't actually like it that much, but I'm always there, sort of like a fly on the wall, listening, reading. But no, it's been absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
That means a ton. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, and Eric, V-Dizzle, and Natty, I mean, they really saved the day, to be honest. Eric first, because of the server security, and the ladies, obviously with the moderation, absolutely brilliant, because they knew what they were doing. We did appoint a lot of our botanists as moderators, but it was a learning experience for them.
Of course,
we had to get more people, more feet on the ground at some points, but no, that absolutely brilliant. So I'm actually going to go and mint one of your
thanks.
Yeah, I know Barbara has one, and I know that her 15 or 20 of hers are in there somewhere as well.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah,
so,
she made us a in vino.
Yeah, in vino. Yes.
Yeah.
It's an
honor for us.
No, I mean it's been a great experience, really, to share sort of the communities, and sometimes things work out. Sometimes nice people find other nice people, so that's really good.
Absolutely.
We were quite worried, when we saw that massive influx of new members. We thought, oh crap, it's going to completely destroy our community, and suddenly everything was fine, and actually you guys added to what we've been building, and it all happened quite organically as well, which is has always been our intention.
No pun intended.
Yes, quite. We sometimes we do wonder, Varvara always wonders, what if she had said yes to one of the bigger projects with 15-20k followers on Discord members, what would have happened? Because obviously she doesn't want to let the project down by saying no to all of those collaborations and partnerships. But I think
Right.
she made the right choice, and we had to sort of hold out until someone better came along, and you guys did, and that's great.
Wow.
And then obviously Gary V sent us more people, and it's a mixed bunch. You guys
Right.
all 100% sort of kosher, but the new bunch, there are some troublemakers. There are some, well, as it always is the case with a large group of people.
Yes.
And the expectations. I think the Gary V effect is both a blessing and a curse in a sense that the
Absolutely.
everyone expects the project that he pumps or mentions or speaks a word on Discord to sort of skyrocket.
Yes.
And when it doesn't happen, they sort of abandon the project, but do so in a very bitter and toxic way.
Yes.
And that's quite unfortunate because it's not. Yeah, we got very lucky with Gary, absolutely, but it's not like we've been we were being groomed for that, or we were planning to get that exposure to begin with.
Well, and it's quite ironic as well, because you have such a trouble of communication, number one, because so many people are coming in, and your Discord can be full of all the information and resources, but inevitably the first thing people are going to do is go in and ask the question, not necessarily seek out the information. But it's ironic because there's, like you're saying, the blessing and the curse. There's so much gratitude and appreciation and sort of giving energy in the community, but then there's also a lot of entitlement and a lot of, like you say, toxic backlash when people are basically impatient. Like your project is hardly a month old, and the speed of the space has really messed with people's expectations of an investment, as it were, when a lot of these projects really aren't investments as much, not investments in the traditional sense, right? They're really more so like individual IPOs. They're investments in concepts and in people more than businesses. It's hard for people to wrap their head around how long it takes to build things like we discussed today. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And honestly, I thought that we would have like a week, maybe 10 days after launch, where we could sort of catch our breath, regroup. That was not the case. People were so impatient in their DMs, and Bavara is still dealing with DMs. I mean, she gets hundreds a day.
Wow.
And it's not something that she enjoys doing. Well, I mean, she has to, obviously. She loves talking to people who are supportive and positive. But, people have been impatient, people have been rude, people have been, overly eager to get, especially free stuff, because we gave away 500 Flower Girls for free. And people saw that as, not as something, not as a gift, but as something they were, as you said, entitled to. And, DMing her 2-3 times a day, checking on when their free stuff is coming.
Yeah, and you have to protect yourself from that, like, and I haven't been able to speak to Varvara personally, but like I've seen her in the Discord, and I can see that they're the kind of person who's so giving, and it's hard when you're sort of put on with this like emotional baggage that really doesn't belong to you.
Yes, quite. And she, when the whole thing started, she was refunding everyone for lost gas or people who were scammed. And then at some point she sent me a screenshot and said, should I refund this person? And I said, look, this person has purchased his Flower Girl 2 minutes into your conversation. So he's clearly just taking advantage, really.
Wow.
Because he saw you say something on in the general channel that, please DM me and I'll see if I can help you. And people were starting to take advantage. And to this day, there are people who sort of mock scam themselves and then, ask for, refunds or free tokens and things like that. So that's quite sad. But, it comes with the space. It comes with the with this whole thing. And there was an article that we both read, Bavara and I, by one of the influencers in this space. I've forgotten who, but it was a female influencer, and she said, "Look, stop complaining about how hard it is, because making this much money is supposed to be hard. It has to be hard, otherwise none of this makes sense." So all of that it comes with the concept of the 10K collection. And we did make a lot of money, and we did raise a phenomenal amount for charity. We're talking 130 ETH or something like that. Actually, more than that. Sorry, it's it'll be closer to 140, 150 by the end of this week, which no other collection has ever even come close to doing. And we've seen collections that earned like $4 or $5 million and donated $5,000, and that's just sad. You tip your way to, I don't know, what, 10, 11, 15, sometimes 20%, depending on the service and where you are located. And most collections are only donating a tiny fraction of what they could be giving away. So we hope that it will. Obviously, we're already seeing with the children's art funds that there are parents and children who say, "Oh, maybe I should give this a try." And there are entries in our contest right now that are from artists who have just joined because of this. And
that's
some of
powerful.
Them, 10, 20 years from now will be the next Beeple, the next Trevor Jones, the next Pack.
And some of them will only become those types of names because you gave them the push that their art was real.
Yes, it's an amazing feeling, and we get video messages from some of these kids because we gave priority to children who are younger than 13 and who are neurodivergent or had a disability of any kind. And we were getting these amazing emotional messages, video messages from kids thanking us. And there was one girl, actually, I think V Dizzle shared a screenshot of that conversation where the little girl, when asked who she wants to be when she grows up, said, "I want to be a Bavara." And and that's amazing. It's overwhelming, but it's amazing. And for the first time, I think. Because when you are donating $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, it's quite easy for that amount to get lost in the red tape of a charity setup, in the operational sort of cash flow. But when we donate over $500,000, it'll be probably $600,000 to $700,000. That's an amount that can possibly buy new equipment for a hospital or renovate a wing, like a pediatric department in a hospital. It's quite a substantial amount. So we're being very careful about where we direct it, and we have a short list. The short list will soon go out to the community, to the holders to vote on. So it has to be done very, very carefully because it is a considerable amount of money. And it has to be treated with extra care. But yes, it's but at the same time, we do appreciate that not everyone likes the charitable side of it, and there are people who say, "Look, you're giving too much to charity," because they realise that the money we give to charity is not being reinvested back into the project, which means it may not, the project, their investment may not get the extra benefit. We have to cater to those people as well, because it is a market, it is an investment, and they see themselves as shareholders of our company.
Right. Yeah, and that brings me back to the communication problem. Like, it's hard enough to communicate amongst like an inner team, of 12, 24 people, but between the token holders, I find that like it's so important that you're catering to those people. They are the people who believed, some of them spending really serious money to have the flower girls that they have. But I say it's ironic because of all the things you're working on, that was the original intention. Like you can't be responsible for every person who doesn't do their research before they spend their money is sort of my point, right? When that was your stated intention from day one, but nonetheless, you know, people buy for any number of reasons, and so you have a lot of different kinds of holders.
Yes, and you know, I think it's the first project that I've seen where people buy tokens for their children, for their partners, for their mothers. We have quite a few, you know, flower girls that are going out as Christmas gifts to mothers.
Yes,
even as tributes to mothers who are no longer with us. You know, with their favorite flowers or something. So we're doing custom flower girls for a lot of the children of holders, including for Aiden Tag, for his soon to be baby girl.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not. You know, I know that she's coming sometime now.
Yeah. She's expected any day now.
Yes,
that's right.
And so it will be Ivy's flower girl. And so it's like it will not have market value, but it will have a sentimental value, I hope. But and I know one gentleman is going to use a flower girl as part of his proposal, and we're making the flower girl look as similar as she can to his fiance to be. And another gentleman is having a tattoo of a flower girl. And we're looking into the legal implications of that because it's a lot of ink, like a lot of ink. And it's not something that you can easily cover. It's probably a very painful procedure if he wants to get it removed later on. So
you're certainly at the start of something very exciting.
I really hope so. And you know, people, we're trying to send that message across. You know, as you say, that you know, this is a long-term project for us, for all of us on the team. And you know, people, I think people have been extremely supportive. And you know, when we talked to Nick and Ryan, and you know, said, guys, you know, you have this very ambitious plan, and we know you can do it. But what if further down the line, sales, you know, go down and your share or your compensation amounts to very little? And they both said we're still going to do it because we love this so much and we really want to see it through. So you have to plan, you have to plan for every possible outcome. And but we'll see. I mean, the World of Women collection was roughly at that same level as we are now, 2-3 weeks in. Obviously, then they skyrocketed to whatever 1 or 2 or 3 ETH floor, which I don't think will happen with us. The market is very different.
Yes,
saturation is different. The gas is different. A lot of things have changed, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yes, we will see. 7 different thoughts flew through my mind as you said that. The market has certainly changed, but we will see, and we'll adjust as things develop. That's all. That's the best we can do.
Yeah, and think about next year. I mean, we've listed on Nifty Gateway, and we already had quite a few sales there. But think about 2022, where OpenSea is what, 400,000 wallets, or give or take, and think about Coinbase. Which is
sooner than later.
And think about a lot of great projects emerging on Solana. So there's a lot that's happening. So it's still very early. Someone shared a graph where you have the early adopters and then you have the mass adoption.
Yes.
And you have to reach a certain percentage for each of these sort of milestones. And we are not even at 1% of what we need to get as a market to have sort of officially early adopters. Not to mention in mass adoption, we are at 0.007% of the world's internet usage. So it's a
Wow.
tiny fraction of a percentage. So, and as NFTs are going mainstream, Varvara is followed by MC Hammer, a bunch of NBA players, a bunch of NFL players, and John Cena, the
Yep.
WWE. Yeah. So these guys are following her,
Huh.
which is absolutely crazy. I don't know why. Maybe they've collected flower girls or they have daughters. Actually,
Huh.
MC Hammer retweeted some of her earlier work. But if these guys are getting into NFTs, and sky's the limit.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time, and it'll be, Gary talks a lot about 98% or more of these projects won't sustain, and when I have a chance to talk to people like you and your team, like, I believe that you'll survive through the dirt, the mud, the challenge, which is really exciting.
Yeah, and another thing as well is that the more brands come into the space, the harder it will be for single projects to survive. So I think
I think you're right.
It's a synergy between, like we have between Flower Girls and VDAO, and and other projects that have merged or joined or collaborated. Those will be the ones who have a better chance at survival, because they share resources, they share knowledge, they share know-how.
Absolutely.
So we do not stand a chance against like a big
Adidas.
brand like Adidas
Yep.
coming in, or Matrix or whatever. They have the resources we'll never get. But because we've been here for a while now, and we continue to perfect our craft, we do have a slight advantage of the early adopters.
We are, yeah, we are the early adopters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's fun, and for us with Varvara, what we're doing next is we're doing a crypto art incubator, which is
amazing.
Something I've been meaning because she was the first artist that I sort of approached, and it worked really well because she's an amazing artist, not because I'm a great project manager, but it's there are a lot of other artists like her out there who for various reasons would never even dream about, or muster the guts to go out and try to do that. And we have now the resources, the playbooks, the foundation invites, the God knows what else, the mint money to invite them all and have this incubator of talent, of ideas, of we found this amazing sculptor who lives. He's autistic. He's an introvert, obviously, and he lives in this massive national forest in the north of England, and he spends years creating each of his sculptures, and he finds natural material in that sort of national park in the forest, whether it's stone or wood, and he crafts it into these Jurassic period pieces.
Wow.
Are absolutely amazing. So we are now we're now shipping containers filled with these Jurassic meteorites or whatever they are, and we are going to 3D scan them and then turn them into these installations of some sort. I don't know, and then probably ship the originals to the holders or something. But it's wow. But he's a crazy guy living in a forest with a flamethrower who goes around. He only touches the things that fell on the ground. So if a tree has fallen, he will touch it. Otherwise, he will not. So, and he finds these fossils, or So there are a lot of amazing artists who are just waiting for their chance to be seen, and it's. So we're quite keen on the incubator idea, because now we have the resources and we know how to do it, even though we're still learning ourselves.
Wow, fantastic. Well, it goes without saying, but as more opportunities for us to support you, whether it's just sharing the message or whatever it is, as you said, the cooperation and the collaboration is going to be a real advantage to us as we grow, you know, in a world where more and more brands will look for market cap. But at the same time, you know, it's not a zero-sum game in this space. And I think that's really, really very interesting and quite different from the crypto market.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's an exciting space. It's the first time because I've been doing startups for since I think 2007. So I've done all sorts of startups, offline, online, you name it. I've worked with teams of 2 people and teams of 50 people. But the NFT space is the first time I'm really excited about something. I've abandoned my company. I've abandoned a lot of stuff.
Amazing.
Apart from just I still spend time with my son. But apart from that, that's it.
You're all in. You see the potential. That's so cool.
I've even stopped collecting. I sold everything I had on Nifty Gateway. I even sold the packs, the pack cubes. I sold everything I had just so I could focus on the Barbara's project and other artists after her. And obviously, the brilliant thing about working with her on the incubator idea is because she's a teacher, so she can teach those new artists.
Yes.
In a way that I possibly cannot. I can provide the infrastructure. I can do their websites. I can set up their wallets. I can do a lot for them. But she can teach them, and she can talk them through the process. Because it can be challenging. It can be mentally demanding. So it's I've stopped collecting. I no longer collect. I just can't be bothered to follow all the news and updates. I did quite well in February and March, and I think that's it. I'll call today.
Wow, that really lands on me. I was just speaking today about how there's just too many. I've collected too many pieces of too many projects, too many discords. There's things, there's benefits that are quote unquote owed to me for holding tokens that come and go because I'm so focused on what I'm doing. And what a freedom it offers to just say, yeah, I've had my fun, and then when something like Flower Girls or whatever it might be comes up, you remain open, but remove distractions. That really landed on me.
Absolutely. It's I used to, the sort of crap I've collected, you would not imagine. When I switched to OpenSea, NBA Top Shot was fun because I actually followed the NBA. I used to play basketball at school at university. And Vive was okay because it was Batman. It was the early sort of things they did. And now they do too much. And Nifty Gateway, same thing. They became too crowded, too busy. And you can't really, and the market is very difficult there.
Yeah.
And on OpenSea, I collected some terrible projects and horrible choices, just because they were hyped, and I regret that now. It was a waste of my time, waste of my attention. But yeah, Flower Girls. It's there are a couple of great sort of worthy projects out there, but now I look at what do they do for charity? Are they giving back? Are they for instance, I have a lot of respect for the Top Dog Beach Club. They are sort of now starting to do a lot more for charity than they did originally. And I think it's never too late to go back to that. So there are a few sections out there that are sort of starting to change their approach to giving back, whether even if it's late in the game.
Even when you're late in the game, you're still the early adopters. So
absolutely.
There's so much time.
It's a tricky one where I know why Lavara focused on children, because she teaches children's creative classes, art classes, and she is a mother herself, and she has friends who have children who are on the spectrum. So I think it all made perfect sense to her. But I've seen that, for instance, the more feminist collections like Women Rise failed. And well, Women Rise, obviously they said no to male collectors, like a blanket ban on male collectors.
Really?
Yeah. So it's an interesting project where very feminist, obviously Women Rise, and they had endorsements from Gary, like videos with the artist, hugging him. They had tweets and endorsements from Reese Witherspoon and a bunch of other people that were in mainstream media here in the UK and in the States. So everyone was expecting them to sell out, and they only minted, I think, 2,000 out of the 10K, and it's been a month. And so, that's why we chose children, because feminism is great. I mean, I support a lot of the things they stand for. And I think it's very important to have women represented, both in the arts and in the artist community. But sometimes you can, even that can be, if taken to extremes, can become, well, its own version of toxicity. And banning, well, or not welcoming male collectors is, I think it's counterproductive. It actually serves to
it's also
achieve the opposite.
It's also reductive, right? Like there's I've been a feminist. I've considered myself a feminist for a decade, and I had to go through several spheres of learning to understand what that meant for me and understand why it was even important. But there's different, feminism is an umbrella term, right? And like you're saying, this operating on the extremes, it sounds also kind of trans exclusionary. It's not actually as concerned with human rights as it is with something else. And
also, if you look at World of Women, for instance, World of Women was never really, well, I do not see it as a feminist collection, but it's been brought into under that umbrella. So that's also another thing that people expect collections that are about women or women themed to be feminist. They're not. They don't have to be. They can be inclusive. They can be celebrating women, but in their own unique way. So it's and we celebrate women and diversity and beauty and natural beauty, because we it was a very we had a lot of facial features that were, let's say there were noses, for instance, that would never flatter any face, male or female. And she insisted on having them there. And I think I got rid of one nose because I said, look, just please, just that one nose, let's exclude it. It's crooked. You don't really find it in real life. It can, I've never seen one as crooked as that. But she did leave all the imperfect features as well. So, and it's amazing that, some of the flower girls that I thought were less picture perfect, let's say, or less sort of glossy magazine perfect. Others find incredible and brilliant.
Isn't that amazing?
Glamorous. Yeah. So everyone finds something in there that appeals to them, that talks to them. And so now I almost regret not leaving that crooked nose in there. Maybe I was wrong, but I was thinking, yes, it's a majority male group of collectors and traders and flippers and whatnot. So we did try to, but then I look at them now. Obviously, we've never done a 10K trial run. We've done 1K, 2K, 5K tops. But I look at them now. Yes, they're all beautiful, because even if the face is not not symmetrical enough or something, I don't know. The beauty is still there, and that's amazing to see. So yeah, well, it's a lesson learned. Next time we'll because she wanted, obviously her style is more Impossible Creatures, and I mean
Right.
her characters are not freaks, but they are very weird. They are very surreal. So Flower Girls for her, it was a massive step in the realist direction. She's never done a collection as sort of true to life, as it were. Well, almost true to life. We still have botanists who come forward and say, "Oh my God, that flower is not." I hardly recognize that flower, because she did use a lot of creative license. She changed colors, she changed shapes.
It's
but
artwork.
People love it.
Yeah, of course they do.
They pointed out, but they love it nevertheless. And we have botanists who are, we're offering their help right now to, make, to help Ryan make the right decisions, or you mentioned the floral diagrams or something.
Yes.
So it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Yes, right. Well, it's
been great to chat with you. I also need to go. This was such a wonderful little after moment. And
absolutely.
And yeah, I'll see you around. Of course. I can't wait for the next one.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Soon. Good night. Well. That was a very pleasant off ramp from the AMA. You might have seen it in my face. I was like, he may not be aware that this is still being recorded. And so in my mind, I was like ready to pounce on something that he shouldn't share. But I think he, whether he was conscious or not, maybe I should have just said so, but I'm sort of glad I didn't, because it allowed for even more vulnerable conversation. I don't think there was anything he wouldn't have said publicly, as it were, but he's a manager, and so he's thinking about optics, and so it was nice to get to go deep with Constantine, a little bonus deep dive with the production manager. No, rather with the project manager of Flower Girls. So 2 of my dear V friends are in the house. Thank you so much for listening and following along on Twitch. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you watched all the way to the end of this video, you need to send me a direct message on either Twitter or Instagram and DM me the secret word lilac. DM me the word lilac, and the first person to do it will receive a free NFT. I can't promise you that it'll be valuable, but I want to offer you some kind of token of gratitude for sticking around for all of that. Now I'm thinking, when am I going to be back? I actually have a whole nother series that I want to record. I think I'll get to it tonight. I have to check in with some other things. Regardless, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for being here. I'm gonna sign off for now. Can't wait to tell you more. That's it. I don't have anything more. I've got 17 things flooding in my mind, and instead I'm gonna just choose to wish you a good evening, a good morning, and a good night wherever you are. And we'll talk soon. See you tomorrow. Signing off for this Ask Me Anything with the Flower Girls team in the VDAO Discord server. My name is Jeremy. I'm the Heart Trooper number 7, and I'll see you.